and into the pesky pole. And that's going to get down the line. That one looks like it'll stay fair. And goodbye, home run. The pesky pole.
The 2-2. Swinging a fly ball deep down the right field line, slicing by the pesky pole. And that ball hits the pesky pole, which means it's gone, a home run.
3-2 high fly down the right field line, slicing toward the pesky pole into the corner, and that ball is gone. A green can. Now with a high fly down the right field line, headed toward the pesky pole. Is he going to tuck it inside? Indeed he does. That is gone.
Welcome to another episode of the Pesky Podcast. I am your host, the Ritt. With me is my co-host, DC, and of course, our head writer, Mr. George Sutherland. George, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing well. We're going to have an interesting weekend up here with the storm coming up, but we'll be okay.
Thursday, you're supposed to be going to see Portland, am I right?
Yeah, tomorrow night. Excited. Like I said, I hope Epperson puts our two newest additions in the lineup, which I'm really excited to see. So, I'll send pictures during the game and stuff like that and keep you guys filled in.
And then you get to see, hopefully you maybe get to see Alex in action that we got to sit down and interview with.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that would be very nice. But, I'm real excited. This team is stacked right now. With talent. And the only unfortunate thing is Maya's done for the season, but this lineup and this bench is just stacked with talent.
Yeah, definitely. DC, what's going on, my man? This past weekend, you had a pretty exciting, eventful weekend. Tell everybody a little bit about it.
Yeah, I got to go up to Boston. My wife bought me tickets to take my dad to the Red Sox game and see them play the Orioles this past Saturday. It was a birthday gift for us, or for me and my dad to have. I mean, obviously for my birthday, we don't share the same birthday, but it was a good time. I don't really get to spend too much time outside of, my hometown with my dad. So it's been quite a long time since him and I spent time together like that, just us two. So it was definitely a cool experience. We didn't really get to do too much because the weather kind of sucks. So we just kind of chilled in the hotel Friday, went to the game early Saturday, or not early, but in the afternoon, got in our seats for about a half hour. And by the time I came back from getting us some food, the rain delay started and we had to go underneath the grandstand, but about like an hour and a half delay. But it was good, man. It was an exciting game. Obviously fell short, but it was cool to see some fight in them, to kind of come back and make it within a 1-run game. But yeah, it was a great time. Got to have some good moments with my dad. I mean, he's not really the biggest baseball fan, but it was kind of cool to see him getting pumped up, as we were coming back. I think they were down like 7-2 at one point. And I look over and he's going nuts when we put up a couple runs. And I don't know, it's just cool to see, man.
Yeah, awesome. And you were in section 69, my man.
Actually, I was in the box 154. That was right in front of me. And this funny thing is I took that picture and not even realize it. So all my friends kind of just pointed that out. And I'm like, that makes it even better.
Yeah. But no, man, you guys, we scored – or the game had more runs scored that you went to than probably my last 3 or 4 games combined. Like, that was just boom after run after run. And that in the 9th inning, bottom of the 9th, DC, we're going to talk about this all, on this weekend, but give us a little taste. What was the atmosphere like on the verge of that comeback? And do you think they should have sent him home?
I mean, the atmosphere was pretty nuts. It was cool to be a part of. I mean, the whole game, it felt like a playoff game, even though, the Sox were out of it or basically out of it at this point. But the atmosphere was pretty cool to experience myself. Being in PA, we don't really get to experience Fenway as much as we'd like. So to be a part of that was really special. And yeah, I think they should have sent him. At this point, you don't have anything to lose. He's got good speed, and what's the worst that's going to happen? You know what I mean? He's going to get thrown out. Game's over. You got to try there. I mean, especially like I said, you have nothing to lose. Once that happened, it was kind of the nail in the coffin as far as the season, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and then with the Yankees, we are down, 2 out of 3 so far against.
And
against
and it's
them.
funny you bring that up. Is we're tied for last place, and the one guy in my baseball league, we bet the beginning of the season before it started that the Red Sox would. He bet the Red Sox would finish last, and I was talking some shit the last few weeks. But like, hey man, that bet's looking nice. So I guess I can kind of blame myself for the downfall.
Hey, can't blame yourself. Tonight, it's a new night. Our man Tanner Houck's on the mound, and Houkamania, baby. The new shirts, head on over. Houkamania running wild. He's on the mound tonight. Go on our website, pick up the shirt. You know, Tanner's been doing pretty good the last 2 outings, so let's just keep it going. So we wanted to sit there and switch things up. It was a huge hit. It was one of our more popular downloaded ones when George earlier this season wanted to play a little GM. So now that our season's dwindling down by the day, we're going to do a little post-season GM. We get real life luxury tax all set. It's restarted. We're at the helm. We get to choose what we do. Okay? So we're going to go move by move a little bit here. So let's start with George. What was the first move you did overall? The season is over. World Series, game is over. Now we're into free agency.
Well, as we all know, the number one need on this team is starting pitching. So I got a little inventive, and I decided that we were going to go after Corbin Burns, trading Alex Verdugo, Mickey Romero, Miguel Blyce, and Mata for him. It may seem like a hefty price, but this guy's a real difference maker. He's a quality pitcher. Maybe he comes to Boston and we'll sign an extension, but it's time to start using up some of those chips that we have sitting on the side. Mm-hmm. And, Verdugo is now expendable. So.
Wow, George, right from the date, you're going starting pitcher, which is definitely one of our biggest needs. Me, we're not getting there yet, George. I'm calling Chaim Bloom in the office, and I'm going to do something that John Henry hasn't done for quite some time. I'm giving the man a 2-year extension. I got to give it to him. I got to see what the vision is. Luxury tax is there. He has the keys to the house. He got us a great farm system. Now let's see what else he can do. Now, that is my first thing. A lot of people don't like it. There's the Theo thing, which that is complete bullshit.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I don't believe that.
No.
So, DC, day one, what's your move, my man?
I'm going to go try out and go get Yamamoto. I think he's a stud. I really like that Burns idea that George had. I think he would do some good things. I think they go out and they sign a guy, and I think they make a trade for a pitcher as well. And I would say if I would go for a pitcher through trade, it'll be Corbin Burns. I also like Aaron Nola as a starter, in free agency. But if I had to pick, I'd go Yamamoto. I think he's just going to be filthy. I think I read something the other day. The Yankees are going to throw some money at him, so it's going to be a dogfight to try to get him, which kind of scares me. I don't know how high I would want to go, but he'd be my first option. Aaron Nola would be second. Just to touch on the Chaim Bloom, at this point, I feel like you have to ride it out. You got to give him a 2-year extension at least. I mean, he built the farm, he reset the tax, so at this point, you just got to see what he's up to. As much as I don't know, I'm Team Chaim right now, but I just feel like we're just so far into it. We got to man the ship and see where he's headed.
I'm not willing to give him an extension right now. Let him finish out his term, see where he goes. But he's shown, particularly the last 2 trade deadlines, he suffers from analysis paralysis, right? And if he's in contention, okay, what's he going to do? All right, if he's loaded up on talent, he needs to make some moves. Is he going to overanalyze the thing or what? This will be, he's got the keys to the car. Can he get it in the fast lane and get pulled, go bombing down the road? But he hasn't shown that he can do that. It's he's so analytical at times. I think it gets in his way. And he's done a great job doing the getting farm system squared away. I mean, the results are there for themselves. I just don't think that he's got what it takes to make the roll the dice, make the crucial move at the trade deadline, because he hasn't demonstrated it yet. So
especially the last 2 years, he struggled with that.
Oh, mightily.
Trade deadline, I agree with you, George. But from day one, he's had to do some of the hardest decisions ever. So he did a great job with, as you sit there and said, Portland. That's our farm system right there. That is 75% of our farm system right there. So, day 2, move number 2, George. What are you doing, my man? What are you doing?
That's a tough one. I'm going to extend. I'm going to take the option. I'm going to make sure that Turner's back, and I'm also going to make a reasonable offer to Duvall to come back. I think that he suffered that freak injury in Detroit early in the year, and it really cut him down. He's struggling right now, but he's got almost 20 home runs right now, and he's got 320 at bats. I mean, we all know that when he gets to 400 to 500 at bats, he's a real force, and he can play all 3 outfield positions, and that makes Verdugo expendable.
See, I like your thinking. I'll be talking a little bit more about that a little bit later, because we are really left-handed heavy.
Correct.
So, my second move I'm doing, DC, you guys hated me, you and the pesky party girls.
Oh,
AC,
I know where this is going.
AC, it's time to go. You're not leaving the organization, but you got to get the hell up out of that off the field. I'm going to offer AC a job to move up, and we're bringing in Jason Varitek, baby. I love Varitek is something that we need, I believe, to bring in his own staff. So Bush is gone. He's got to be. But Varitek knows more about pitching than Bush does. So I think AC's gone. Respect. We can offer him a job up. Varitek is the new manager. He sits there and we get rid of Bush, which is one heck of a problem that he ruins pitchers. George, AC ruins bullpens. We talked about that, how many times, George? Yeah. So that is my next move. The pesky party girls didn't like the move until I said about Varitek, and then they said they could get by on it. So that's my second move. DC, what about you, my man?
This might not be too popular, but I mean, if I know I talked about George's move with Burns. If he doesn't get traded as far as Verdugo, I'd put him in another different trade, get him out of there. Just like you said, we're really lefty heavy. I say you go out and sign a guy like Teoscar Hernandez. I think he could do some damage in Fenway. And I was sold on Verdugo for a little bit in the beginning of the year, but he just, I don't know. The last half of the season, he looked like he wanted to be there. I mean, he kind of tore it up after that benching, but even watching him when I was in person, he just didn't have that spunk about him anymore. That worries me. I don't know if it's some friction between him and Cora. I know Cora kind of rides him pretty hard compared to the other players, but I think he's just trying to get more out of him. And I'm just a big fan of Teoscar Hernandez, but there's a lot of guys out there. but I won't go too far because I know we're going move by move, and I kind of did a double move on the first one. So,
hey, looking at the free agency coming up, let's see if I can bring this up quick. And if you guys can sit there and see, like, there's not a lot. DC, I was right there with you, looking at Teoscar Hernandez just because of what he did against the Red Sox and his time with the Blue Jays. But there is very little, really star power out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for position players, that is. So, like, it's crazy. You know, I do like the Hernandez thing though. I do like it. And I kind of like where you went there. So
I think he would pepper the Green Monster. I think he would be putting a bunch of dents in there. Kind of like we expected Duvall to do. Like George said, he kind of had a weird year. He had that freak injury. I just like Teoscar. He's 31, so he's still got plenty in the tank. And I think he would just do well.
Yeah. George, number 3, coming up. What are you doing, my man?
Okay. To shore up the defense, okay, particularly in the infield, I would take a flyer on Whit Merrifield for second base. Okay, $18 million. He's going to cost you, okay, because of his contract. But yeah, I'd take a flyer on that. That really frees up Rafaela to be your everyday center fielder or, you know, a backup at shortstop. I'm still worried about Story's arm. Okay, we'll see. You know, and he's got to come back and hit a little bit better. But, you know, he's had a screwed up year, so I'm not going to hold him to that. But yeah, I think we need to demonstrate we need better defensive prowess. The other option is you put Rafaela at second base. I'm not so sure that's a great long-term move, but right now your weaknesses are third base and somewhat first base until Casas matures a little bit more as a fielder. But yeah, Devers is definitely a sore spot at third. So let's shore up the rest of the middle and get somebody like a Merrifield.
Man, George, I did not think no one else was going to be going there.
That was my next move. I swear to God, I love Whit Merrifield.
I sit there and I was looking at defense. You know, starting pitching's there. Defense was also horrible for us this year. I had signed Whit Merrifield.
Yep.
You know, sign him, and then 1 year deal, 2 year deal, maybe 1 year with an option. You know, sign him. I was having him play second. Then next year, which will be 2025.
Yep.
Move Story to second, and let Rafael play your everyday shortstop. Or no, Marcelo Meyer will be at shortstop.
Meyer, if he's ready. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to skip Merrifield now because you already stole my thunder.
Sorry, buddy.
So let's sit there. I got to go with DC. I got to sign Yamamoto. Got to. Like, everybody's going to be so baffled and stargazing over Ohtani, not knowing what anything comes out to be with his medical or anything. I think we got DC. You said about the Yankees going to throw money. The Yankees have a lot of money wrapped up in the next 3 years with the players they already have. I don't know what more they can sit there and offer Yamamoto, but I think with his connection with Yoshida, Boston has taken care of Japanese players immensely when they come here. You know, Koji, Tozawa, Dice K.
Dice K.
Yeah. But I sit there, you throw all the eggs in that basket, give me Yamamoto to, I wouldn't even say be the ace of the staff. He could be number 2 until he proves it, gets used to it. But Yamamoto is my next big thing. I'm pretty sure, we're all going to be on that train. But DC, what would be next for you?
Well, since George, stole our thunder, now it's a good pick with Merrifield. This might be unpopular, but I like Tim Anderson. I think he could play good second base. He had an off year. You can get him cheap. He's on a club option next year, and I don't think they re-sign him, especially with all the drama that he's had. I think he's
what,
Boston.
14 million or something like that.
Yeah, 14 million.
I think they cut him loose. And I don't know. I've always been a fan of him. I know people say he's a clubhouse cancer, but I think playing in Chicago has been a mess since La Russa has been there. He kind of destroyed that clubhouse with his old school management. But yeah, I'm going Tim Anderson, man. I'm a big fan. I think he has a big year, a big bounce back year. He can steal bags. His defense isn't bad. He's serviceable at second base. I know he's a shortstop, but move him over. He could also spell Story whenever he needs some couple of days off. Yeah. I'm just a huge fan of Tim Anderson. I think you put him on a winning squad. When I think the Red Sox are going to be that team next year. I'm not saying that they're going to come out and win the World Series, but I think they make some noise. I think a lot of the young players kind of start putting it together. Casas, improves his defense, comes out, hits 30, 35 bombs. I think it's an exciting team to play for, and I think Tim Anderson would go for it. I just don't see him being his option being picked up by the White Sox. So I'm going to go Tim Anderson. If I don't want to pick the same thing, as far as Merrifield, but I'm a big Merrifield fan.
Well, one big thing that I took Merrifield is because he plays multiple positions, and unlike a person that said he had stuff on his resume, what Merrifield legitimately has multiple positions on a resume, and he can play each one quite well. Outfield, shortstop. He's played a little third base, and he's played second base. So that's why I took Merrifield, and wanted him on the team. George, what's going on, man? What's up next for you?
This one's coming out of nowhere. The Chris Sale experiment is over. I think you send him packing and see what kind of prospect haul you can get back. And that goes in line with the fact that you're going after Burns. I'm also presuming that they're going to be in on Yamamoto, Nola, or Stroman. Okay. This town cannot deal with another. When is Chris Hill going to break down again? And if he goes someplace and stays healthy for a season, magnificent. Boston's had enough. So yeah, I think that's next. I think that Chris Hill experiment's over. He's got. The other thing is $27.5 million. He's getting the same amount credited against the salary cap as Rafi. Okay, that $27.5 million can do a lot in terms of perhaps getting you a haul of young pitchers, maybe a young, maybe you free up somebody, out of Miami, and or whatever. But yeah, he's gone in my book.
Well, I was going to wait a little bit to say that move. I had Sale gone also. I was debating to put the man in the bullpen, but I'm packaging Sale.
Okay.
I have Sale and Verdugo.
Oh.
Both going in a package deal where we're going to eat half of Sale's salary.
Okay.
And there was one team in the season that was talking about Chris Sale. I don't know if they'll still take him, but it's the Mets. I got Verdugo. I got Sale getting traded for the Mets. And in return, we'll take their number 11 overall prospect, who had some time. Jose Budo. I like the kid. Let's sit there and let's bring him up here a little bit here. I like him. He throws right. You know, he's a hard thrower too. This season he was 1-2 with a 3.46 ERA. You know, he started 4 games, so we can get a decent possible starter in return. You know, for Verdugo and Chris Sale. Man, it's just I was looking at trade options, and I tried to look up that stupid thing where the point values and stuff like that, and I'm like,
yeah. If you find that, let me know. I haven't been able to find it either.
So, DC, what's that thing that we're talking about? You and I were talking about that before.
Wait, with the baseball savant one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I say we give them Verdugo because the Mets are going to need an outfielder. If they're willing to sit there and take Sale, we eat half the contract. And I like that young kid, Jose Budo. You know, I was just trying to find the right team for him, and you know that was my next pick. Sale's done. You know, so that would leave Devers as the last 2018 guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but this one here will be for the better, I believe. So, I'm with you, George. Verdugo's got to go. I shook up my outfield tremendously. Sale, we can't keep doing this. Not every year.
No, especially for what he's getting this year, which is the equivalent to what Raffy's making. That's a lot of money for what. Even he hasn't earned it yet, you know, with his injuries and stuff. So
but DC, what's up, man? You're next.
Before I get into what I would do, I want to touch on the whole Chris Sale thing because you of all people know how much I love Chris Sale.
Yeah,
I mean, I fucking adore the guy. He, I think he sold his arm for that 2018 World Series. I think that played a lot into his injuries. So at the end of the day, I can't personally be mad at him. And honestly, he holds himself to a high standard, and he's the most accountable player I think I've ever seen in a long time. I mean, he fucks up and he owns it, you know, and he feels terrible about it. You can see it in his face. I was listening to the ITM podcast, and they were talking about him going to the Dodgers, and I could see that happening. You know, they have a thing about taking our contracts. I think we'd have to pay at least half, like you said, but I could see him being a Brazier 2.0, going over there and resurrecting his career, you know, a little bit, you know, for a year or two, pitching in some important games, which would suck, you know, to see, because obviously I want to see him succeed here, but I just don't see it happening. I was on the same boat as you. If we don't trade him, I would like to see him in a bullpen, you know, try to see a 1-inning type of deal, you know, don't extend him anything past 1, have him come out, throw some straight gas, you know, throw that slider, but it all comes down to health. But mine's not going to be the most popular. It's a small move, in my opinion, but I'd get rid of Reese McGuire and I'd sign Mitch Garver as a backup catcher. I think he'd be pretty decent. You know, give Connor Wong some time off. I'm not too up to date on his defense, but Connor Wong is the main guy. You know, you can afford to have Garver come in, you know, once or twice a week. He's got power. He hits around probably like 260, 270, which is what you can expect that out as a backup catcher, and he has got some pop. And I think he'd do some damage in Fenway. That's what I would do. I know I kind of went early, like I said in the first move. I kind of gave like 3 moves, so it kind of, you know, used all my bullets on that one. But yeah, I'd get rid of Reese McGuire. I've never been a fan of him. I don't know. It's just the history, you know, that he has going on outside of the baseball life and what he got caught up in. But I'm just not a fan. I think Mitch Garver would do some good and, you know, add some pop when Wong's struggling.
Yeah, and we've got one heck of a catcher coming up in a year or two. You know, I kind of hope they let him develop. I want him all next year in Portland. You know, with Kyle Teal. Let him develop, and then, you know, 2025, you know, maybe split it. with the Woo Sox and up in Boston.
Yeah, sign Garber to a 2-year deal, be a bridge, as a backup, and see what happens. Because I think Teal is going to be, very, very early. Anything can happen, but he's ascended through the minors so far. He just got drafted in June. So yeah. I'm really excited to see him. I'm stoked, but I hope they do give him time to develop and don't rush him.
Yeah, I'm and that would be great because Veritek is he's pretty fond of catchers, so but he's not the one that's going to be making the moves. He just got to deal with it. But I can sit there and see him, liking a Mitch Garber type move. George, what's up with you now? What's going on, sir?
Next one would be re-sign James Paxton. Okay. This presumes that you have already picked up another frontline starter to be the lead dog in the pack, 1 and 1A with Bayo. Take some of the pressure off of him, have him come in and be a 3 or a 4. That would not be the worst thing. He's definitely proved it. He's pitched the more mornings than he has in the last couple, so he's kind of shot right now. So, but give him a strong winter of workouts. I think he'll be fine. Do it in a 1-on-1 deal and see what happens.
So, George, you got Corbin Burns.
Yep.
Bayo. Paxton.
Yep.
Okay. That's a nice starting pitching staff. It's a nice.
You see what happens. You see what happens with Yamamoto, Nola, or Stroman. At the very least, you bring Pivetta back. Okay, as your 5. I think he's earned it. I love the guy. Okay, innings eater. Okay, they don't grow on trees. But yeah, there's a lot of things. I think moving Sale, maybe you get something as a starter. I don't know. Miami take him, and then we'll take Santana.
Well, my next move was the reason why I didn't put Sale in the bullpen. I gotta sign me some Haterade. Give me Josh Hader.
Yeah.
We can bring him in, Martin, Kenley, and then when Kenley's gone, put Hader in our closing spot. Oh man, Wink. Oh man, That bullpen will be stacked, and we won't have AC there to blow through it. So that is my next move. Give me some Josh Hader. I love the kid. I actually thought he would do a lot better out there in Slam Diego, but he didn't. But he's coming to go find himself a nice little home in Fenway. So, DC, what's going on, man? What's up next for you?
You took it. No, I was on the same boat. I think sign him to a multi-year deal. You kind of shore up the left-handed guy out of the bullpen, especially the late inning guy. I think we struggle with that a lot this year. Lefties, they kind of be inconsistent. And then honestly, I think if I had to choose another one since you picked him, I wouldn't mind bringing in actually, no, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say maybe offer Joey Votto a small contract, come in and be backup first baseman. I know I want to shore up Justin Turner, but I think with him being 39-40, I would like to keep him at DH only. But obviously it depends on what we do with Yoshida, because I don't think he's going to be serviceable completely in every game in left field. His defense is a little suspect. But yeah, I'm on the Josh Hader train. I think you got to build with the bullpen, especially it depends on what happens with the starting pitcher. We might, pitching market, we might need that bullpen.
Hey,
or we're going to need the bullpen, obviously, but
I'm hoping we get Josh Hader. I already got the shirt laid out, Haterade. So gotta get the merch, gotta get the merchandising corner. So George, George, I'm seeing you scrolling through those glasses. What's your next move, my man?
This is like if I could make it happen, I would. I would like. I would explore quietly what it would take
Don't say
to
it.
get Mike Trout here.
That'd be dope.
Okay. His salary for next year is, I got it here, is $37,116 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's the prorated signing bonus and everything else. All right. I'm not going to ask him to play center field. Okay. I think that's a lot to ask, but put him in the corner. I think Adi Moreno is going to try to keep Ohtani. I think maybe you offload Yoshida. Okay. Particularly if we don't get Yamamoto. And maybe throw in a couple of other things. But I think that he's an East Coast guy. I think he'd thrive in Fenway. And if you put him in one of the corners, he's going to prolong his career because he's really beat himself up, playing center field. And you could DH him. As much as I love Yoshida and I think he's done great things, another heavy right-handed bat that we can actually use.
Man,
that's the last of my eggs. That's the last of my, pulling stuff out of midair.
Well, it's time for me to pull out my stop. George, I like your Corbin Burns. I love your Corbin Burns. But Chaim Bloom's been building a hell of a farm system, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
And now is when the time comes to sell off some of those pieces in a package deal where we're not only going to get a number 2, but we're going to get a number 3 starter also. We're getting Brandon Woodruff. We're going to get Corbin Burns. And we're going to be giving up Carter Crawford, Whitlock, Wickelman Gonzalez, which is our number 9, Blaze Jordan, which is our number 12, Miguel Bleece, number 5, Nick York, number 6, and we will be giving up Roman Anthony, our number 2.
Oh.
We want starting pitching. Woodruff, he has 1 year of arbitration left. $10.8 million he made this year. Corbin Burns, 1 year, base salary $10.1. I like it. This will be my starting rotation. Yamamoto, Woodruff, Burns, Bayo, Houck. Like, you can't get much. Yeah, we just lost our 2, 5, 6, 9, and 12.
Holy shit.
Prospects. But even if we can sit there and get Burns or Woodruff to a long-term extension, give them 3-4 years apiece, that sure is up our rotation for quite some time.
They're probably going to want somebody major league ready. Or major league talent because they're losing 2 major leaguers.
I'm giving them Cutter Crawford and Whitlock.
That's an incredible package, though.
Like I'm giving them Whitlock. I'm giving them Cutter Crawford. I'm giving them the most mature 19-year-old that MLB has seen in quite some time, with Roman Anthony. Like that. We need starting pitching, and that's the best package I can put together. Like overall, overall, like ridiculously. So that is my big splash. You know, DC, do you have a big splash on yours?
I don't know who I'd want to trade, but I think my big splash would be going after Luis Robert, make a trade for him. And then even if the White Sox don't, if the White Sox pick up that option, throw Tim Anderson in a deal with those two. I don't know who I'd give up, but I love Luis Robert. I think he's a beast. I think he's going to be great for a long time. I really like Georgia's idea for Mike Trout. I just don't know if that's feasible. I know he is a big East Coast guy, though. I just don't know if the Angels have the balls to make that trade, especially if they end up losing out on Ohtani, which I think they do. I don't think they have the money or honestly the future that's going to entice him to come back. I think they really dropped the ball in not trading him at the deadline. I mean, they made all those moves, and then a month later they DFA'd like 5 guys. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't.
And they all became contributors to people who were at the fringe of the wild card race. I mean,
you got Renfroe, and went to Cincy. He's doing pretty decent.
Giolito.
I think those 4 out of the 5 guys got picked up right away. I don't know. I would love to see Mike Trout in Boston.
Also, he could reset his salary cap situation, and you're dealing with Adi Moreno, so logic has nothing to do with it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
all impulse.
He's this century's Charlie Finley.
But yeah, I would
make a shrewd move occasionally, but most of the time he's a clown.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you have to be able to have a great enough farm system to pull off a trade like that and still have some. Like, in the top 2 farm systems, Pirates and Baltimore. Yeah. And neither one of those teams want to pay money. Like, we have a great farm system now. That will put us right in there. I'm not sure who else. The Mets, I think, are up there. So it's crazy. Overall, what do you guys think of all of our moves that we said about? Which ones do you like? Which ones aren't you a big fan of? George, let's start with you.
I love your thought process with Milwaukee, the Brewers, to bring in Burns and Woodruff. It's a hefty price, but it does set you up for having a nice rotation. But the big thing you'd have to do with that is sign Burns to a long-term extension, and make it count, because that you lose. He's a UFA after next year, so that's a gutsy move, man. But yeah, that would be good. That would be good. That's the number one.
Here's a question. Are they allowed, kind of like when we traded for the Dodgers with Mookie, are we allowed to talk to them and be like, okay, we will trade for Corbin Burns if he guarantees us an extension? Or are we allowed to do stuff like that?
I don't know if you could in with the rules.
It's not like basketball.
I'm sure you could have like a backroom deal. I'm sure that they do. Off the record, you'd have to. You know what I mean? You can't trade that future.
It's not. There's nothing like a sign and trade like in basketball. Where they sign him and then off he goes. But
that was going to be my next thing. But you're not in baseball. I think it's once you sign a deal, you can't be traded in so many, in so long. So,
right.
But yeah, I had to get a splash. I had to sit there and get our starting rotation in. I think Hader, really helps our bullpen. Defensive wise, I have Massa at left field, Duran at center field. I love Abreu. I love Abreu at right field. Devers at third. Trevor Story at short, Merrifield at second, Casas at first, Wong at catcher, Turner at DH, and in the bench, I still have McGuire. I have Rafaela on the bench, Reyes and Valdez. You know, I sit there and think that I don't like Rev Snyder. Like, I don't want him to come back. Like,
He doesn't cost you anything, though.
He doesn't cost anything, but he hasn't produced in the last so many plate appearances either against lefties. So I think Rafaela, will sit there and help us out a lot more. Merrifield can also play the outfield, which helps us a little bit. So that's where I went all in at. DC, what was stuff that you liked? What was stuff that you didn't like?
I mean, I guess I'll start with the one I didn't like, but that's a lack of better term. I'm with George. I really like where your head's at as far as Woodruff and Burns. It's just a very, very steep price. And honestly, I don't think Chaim Bloom makes that deal just for how much, effort he's put into building that farm system. You're really gutting it. Obviously, like George said, you have to make sure that you can sign him to a long-term extension, because that might be one of the most expensive rentals in MLB history if that were to turn into him just being here for 1 year. I do really like it. It's just, I don't like the package we'd be giving out, but I do like where your head's at. I like the Whit Merrifield a lot. I think he's been one of my favorite players for a long time. I tried to always get him in my fantasy league. Finally got him last year, drafted him pretty high. He had a really, really shitty year. But then this year, he didn't have guaranteed playing time, and he was hovering around 300. He stole some bags.
281, 25 stolen bases.
And he can play numerous base or positions, which obviously with all the injuries we saw this year with the Red Sox, you need that kind of guy. He's a super utility guy. I think he could be the guy that we thought Kike would be for us. And I think he'd be a lot more productive. I know he's going to be 35, or he is 35. But I think he'd be really, really cheap. Probably sign him for like $10 million, and a club option for the second year. But yeah, you guys had some really good ideas, stuff that I didn't really think about. We also had a lot of stuff that we do agree on, that we both, we all picked. So I don't know. I'm excited for this offseason. I think it's make or break for Chaim Bloom. I actually thought he was done after this year as far as contract, but he has one more year on his deal. So I don't know. I'm excited to see all the pieces come together. I hope he does something. You got to make a move. You got to put your stamp on this team. You got to stop worrying about the farm system now. Start using those pieces, 1, 2, 3 here to make a nice deal. But I think you need to start spending some money. The taxes reset. Got to focus on starting pitching. That's first and foremost. You need to get a bona fide number one starter. We haven't had one, honestly, since Chris Sale has gotten hurt, in like the last, 4 years?
Yeah.
I can't tell you, other than Bayo and a couple of starts this year in that string back in like May and June, that I've been confident where, we go into a game and I'm like, damn, you know what? We're going to tear them apart because we're going to go out and get 7 innings out of this guy. We haven't had that. I know that's not the type of game that's really played anymore with openers. It's really analytical with, not going 3 times through the order, stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm stoked for this offseason. It sucks that this season didn't work out. I think I was a little overly optimistic. Kind of came back to earth, in the last month or so, because they tease us. They play really well, win like 7, 8 in a row. Then they lose 5 of 6, win 7, 8 in a row, lose another 6 out of 7. It's just, I want some consistency. But as we talked before, we've all been fans before, 2004. So as much as we've been spoiled, I feel like all 3 of us are pretty realistic and, we're pretty humble when it comes to, tempering our expectations. But I think I went a little too high with my expectations this year, which is my own fault.
DC, when you and I were talking in the beginning, we both agreed, wild card ish. You know what I mean? I don't think I've heard anybody sit there say that we were going to win the division.
No, I think I had them picked for like 92 wins, which now.
I sit there and I finished. I finished third. I sit there and said we would finish. And it's just I didn't go through the injuries like we had. One honorable mention that I was looking at if we can't sign or re-sign Justin Turner, I would like to move Devers to DH for a season or two, bring in Matt Chapman. I love his defensive glove. And, it'll give Devers some time off away from that hot corner when he has his, downs. Because it baffles me sometimes how the man can go from the highest of the highs to be getting his head and he's, the lowest of the lows. Like, I don't know if this year he's missing his buddy to the left of him to try to, keep him in the game or what. But, man, that's just it bothers me with his defense how he's really good one game and then next game he's struggling.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that scares me about that's just a lot of money to pay a DH. That's the only thing that, holds me up. But I agree, one game he's making phenomenal plays. The next 3 or 4, he's, fumbling balls, that are hit right at him, overthrowing the bag. Sometimes he looks lost out there. I like his attitude, and he's not lackadaisical, but carefree. But I think sometimes that hurts him in the field. It's cool being carefree, rolling with the punches, but sometimes you gotta, really gotta focus in. And sometimes I think he lacks that. I mean, you see him if he dives back into a bag after trying to get picked off, he sits on the ground for like a minute. It's like, all right, bro, that was cool the first 10 times, but let's get up and let's get back to playing ball, But I love Devers. I think he's going to be obviously a huge, huge part of our team for the next foreseeable future, 10 years, after this year. But I don't know. I don't know if they would pay somebody that much just to be a DH. I think he needs to, put some work in this offseason, work on his defense. But I don't hate the move because I love Matt Chapman. I think he started off the year really, really hot. Kind of fell off a little bit, but I think he would do well. I think there's players that are built for Fenway, and I think of guys like Teoscar Hernandez, Matt Chapman, Luis Robert. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they would put him at DH. As far as Devers, it's just a lot of money. But he's gonna eventually end up there. I mean, and at least in 5 or 6 years, I think he'll be a full-time DH.
So, guys, we're running out of time. So, George, give us some final food for thought.
I think Bloom sticks around to see what he can do. I think, as I said earlier, I think that his ability to make a crucial trade at the trade deadline will be analyzed incredibly this coming next summer. If he can't figure out what to do, he's going to be on a train out of town so fast it won't, it'll spin your head. I think AC stays. I do. I think AC stays. Primarily because he hasn't had much to work with the last couple of years. And as much as he eats, as much as he kills bullpens, he's a better manager than a lot that are out there. Dusty Baker's been known to kill bullpens too. So, I think that what they do this offseason is key. They've assembled some assets. Let's put them to use. And, let's go get some yucks with John Henry bucks.
Exactly. DC, any final thoughts for you?
Yeah, just the rest of the season, I just want to see them focus on giving some young guys some at-bats. You need to put Rafael in the lineup every day. Abreu needs to be in there, see what he has. I agree with George. I think Cora, he makes it to at least next year. I think next year is a big year for Heim and Cora. I'm still high on Alex Cora. Maybe it's just a soft spot for, bringing home that championship in 2018. I think he's a great manager. I think there are some decisions that he makes that are just like, what the hell are we doing? But at the same time, how much of those decisions are also influenced from up top with the analytical kind of guys that are in the front office? Yes, he can really misuse the bullpen. But like I said, we don't know who's available. We don't know who gets the green before the game, from the training staff as far as resting, injuries, stuff like that we do not hear about.
Right.
But I'm really excited for this year, this postseason, or not this postseason. I mean, I'm excited for postseason baseball, even if the Red Sox aren't in it. Obviously, I want to see the Red Sox be playing in October, trying to go for a championship. But I'm really excited for the offseason. I think we make some moves. I hope we make some moves. If we don't, I'm going to be severely disappointed. And I just feel like if you're Chaim Bloom, it's time to start putting your money where your mouth is. You did what you said you're going to do. Now, let's start acting like the Red Sox. Let's start, spending a little bit of money. I'm not saying go crazy on some money. One thing I will say really quick, I was just going to have this idea. If we don't lock up Turner, which I think he comes back, I think he loves Boston. I think he'll end his career here. I mean, he'll eventually, retire at Dodger. But if we don't sign him, I think he tried to make a move for Paul Goldschmidt. Put him at DH. He's a free agent after next year, I believe. Bring him in. I know he's getting a little bit older, but he still steals you 10 bags. He'll hit 20, 25 home runs, and it's pretty decent average. I actually just kind of thought about that. Should have said that earlier.
I like, but we talked about Paul earlier when we did our GM thing. We also did the trade deadline thing. We were talking about Paul. I want to wrap things up real quick on how pretty was Cedone Rafaela's first major league home run last night, and in the excitement and the smile on that kid's face after he hit it.
Love to see
it. You can't sit there and paint a better picture than that. And I'm glad the kid got the ball back, unlike earlier this year. But, man, that was just –
I blame that family for the bad luck. That's all I'm going to say. So if you're listening, I blame you. They're not listening, but,
But, hey, you never know. Like, we never thought we would get Devin Marrero's home run ball back. We might get Massa's home run ball back.
Did that ever happen? Did that ever come to fruition?
Yes.
Yeah. So
they met up and he got the ball?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. We got to get him back on.
So, but no, I sit there and enjoy the watching stuff like that. But guys, make sure you head on over to our YouTube channel, subscribe, follow us, hit us up on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. Check us out. Don't forget about our merchandise. Our merchandise is starting to go fast. We've got Halkamania shirts. We got some Turner Tough. Throw some dirt on it. We've got the Mi Casa es Su Casa shirt. We've got the Pesky Podcast logo shirt like George is wearing right now. For the ladies, we've got the Pesky Party Girls. So, head on over, get yourself a shirt, get yourself some fine beverages. We got glasses, we got mason jars. So, but guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And until next time, thanks for checking out the Pesky Podcast.